Yachiru throws down with a vanishing stern ritter Guanail in my review of Bleach, chapter 571. In this week's chapter, Yachiru goes up against the big wrinkly vagina V stern ritter Guanail Lee. And this guy has some really creepy ass powers. He has the ability to vanish in 3 different ways. Basically, the first way is he completely conceals his existence so you can't see him. His second form is where you can't actually touch him anymore. He's completely gone. And the third power is you can't even remember he existed in the first place. And he uses this to sort of fuck with his opponents and make them sort of seem like they're attacking themselves. However, he's up against Yachiru, who is probably the worst opponent for him, and that's because we learn in this week's chapters what her abilities are. Now, we've seen in the series that people have been able to turn their swords into like different forms and summon all types of weird creatures. And it seems like Yachiru's ability is sort of like a combination of the two, because whenever she attacks someone with her Shikai, she actually attacks you 3 different times, and that's because she has help from these 2 massive creatures, which maybe you can or cannot see depending on when she wants you to actually see them. But to put it in perspective, whenever this guy is actually dodging her sword attacks, she attacks. But before she actually attacked, one of her summons already did the attack, and then her other summon attacks after she attacks. I know that sounds incredibly confusing, and you know what? It kind of is. I had to read this chapter a couple of times, and I even had to go to the damn wiki page to make some damn sense of how these abilities work. But when you actually see how it works, it makes sense, because no matter what, even if the V Stern Ritter is going to dodge her attacks, he's going to get hit by them, and she's acting entirely on instinct. And she's also just going completely batshit insane, which makes sense. She is the lieutenant of Kenpachi. And when you actually see at the very end of the chapter, you get to see her Shikai, and it looks so cool. She has this one massive creature behind her, which basically looks kind of like a hollow, and it has this giant blade, which is made out of bones. And then there's this other one, which looks like this big puffball, and it's basically this abominable snowman with a big blade. And that's pretty much the end of this week's chapter, but from a visual standpoint, it was awesome. If there's one thing that Kubo can do, it's to draw really freaky, awesome demons and creatures. And that's what he did this week. And even though Yachiru has these really disturbing looking monsters, the opponent that she's fighting against is honestly just as disturbing. I'm really liking the whole Guanail vanishing point thing. It's a really interesting power, and it's showing how creative the author is getting, because when the series first started out, it was pretty much just sword battles, and then little by little as the series went on, the powers started to get really, really crazy, and it's really starting to show in this arc. So, I loved this chapter of Bleach. It had incredibly good artwork. Yachiru finally doing something is really noteworthy. It just makes me want to see Kenpachi even more. I'm actually imagining that maybe he'll just bust in on the scene any second because he doesn't want Yachiru to steal his thunder. That sort of seems like the whole joke this week, is that Yachiru never really gets to go all out because Kenpachi steals all of the opponents. So I just think that's a funny concept. So check out this week's chapter. It is really awesome. Incredible artwork, really cool new powers from Yachiru, and just a really fun chapter in general. Great. Check it out, guys. If you guys had a chance to check out this week's chapter of Bleach, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. You could tell me what you think about Yachiru's brand new Shikai ability. And remember, guys, before you leave, make sure and hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. It's one of the easiest ways to support our videos. And you can subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And you can check us out on Facebook and Twitter. So, I'll see you next time, guys. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out. Today we're going to have a proper review of Bleach because Christian says it's a good idea to put my hands down in front of the camera like this. So let's go ahead and jump into this week's chapter of Bleach, which, see, there he is. He's even photo bombing or video bombing my review. Thank you, Christian. In this week's chapter, Yachiru goes up against... Alright, here we go. Oh, God dang it! The big